the color of the leaves. And I think it would be nicer being red or yellow or gold or something much more colorful like that. It's not easy being green. It seems you blend in with so many other ordinary things. And people tend to pass you over because you're not standing out like flashing sparkles on the water or stars in the sky. But green can be the color of spring. And green can be cool and friendly like. And green can be big like an ocean, or important like a mountain, or tall like a tree. When green is all there is to be, it could make you wonder why. But why wonder? Why wonder? I am green and it'll do fine. It's beautiful. And I think it's what I want to be.
I got so caught up in the saga of being green, almost missed my cue. Welcome to Sunday morning in Rochester. We are, how about now? That's better. Welcome to Sunday morning in Rochester. We are First Universalist and First Unitarian, two historic congregations. We heard the woo, Lane. That was nice. I am happy about it. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We're two historic congregations who have come together in strange times to worship online and under a big tent. Coming together because our faith teaches us that the safety of all is important, teaches us that we can work together to share what we have, teaches us to value science, and teaches us to be creative and improvise as the world lays out new and different circumstances. And so we come together in a grand experiment. And if you are here for the first time, we are so glad that you're with us. We hope that you'll take this opportunity to get to know our two congregations, to find a spiritual home within Unitarian Universalism. We acknowledge here at the start of our time together that we gather on the land of the Seneca Nation, keepers of the Western Door and part of the Haudenosaunee people, on whose ancestral lands both First Unitarian and First Universalist now stand. Online, if you are joining us for the first time, you'll see links in the chat to let us know that you're here so we can connect with you. Here in person, we hope you'll stop by the membership table. And if you've been coming once or twice or for decades, and we're not going to count how many times you have been here, you know that it is not Sunday morning without all of you. It is good to be together. I'm the Reverend Sherry Halliday-Kwan. I'm the Senior Minister of First Unitarian, and our preacher today is Reverend Lane Campbell, the Minister of, I know. I feel that way about Lane also. Yeah, Lane will be preaching later, and it's going to be good. I already know. I am pining for your preaching, Lane. Leading worship with the two of us is the Reverend Michelle Yates, also a First Universalist. Our music director here at First Unitarian, Tommy Snell. And rounding out our ministry of music, we've got Charlie, we had Lou, we've got Kitty and Lisa and Ed, we've got Emily and Eric and Brendan on sound. There are ushers and greeters here in person and online. It takes a lot of us to come together. It takes all of you. It is good to be together. I didn't mention Eric earlier, but Eric Van Dusen, I'm going to need you to make your way forward because you're going to be lighting our chalice today. You, a member of First Universalist, you help us begin our worship with unison words from First Unitarian. Our chalice, which is a central symbol of our faith, it includes two rings, one for Universalism and the other for Unitarianism. It is good to be together. Online, you'll find our unison words on screen. Here in person, they are printed in your order of service, and I invite you all to speak them with me. May the flame we now kindle inspire us to use our power to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, and to seek liberation in the fullness of community.
Dear ones, will you please join me in singing our doxology together? From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung. Through every land by every tongue. Good morning, friends. Good. So, second week into school, I get the call that no parent wants, especially in these times. Your kid's best friends with two of the kids in school that have COVID. And he's 4 and can't wear his mask right all the time. We have to remind him, so he's on quarantine now. Just as you were getting used to being able to have childcare and work without being interrupted at least 2 times an email. And feeling guilty about using screen time to get through every meeting. But extra fun, your kid actually gets sick, but not with COVID. And we do all the fun up-your-nose tests, twice negative for COVID, negative for RSV, negative for the flu. He's just sick. So 2 weeks off. And don't get me wrong, I'm really grateful that I didn't have to worry about losing my job or losing my house because of this. But it was hard. It was really hard. It, sapped my soul. Like when there's times when you're with people you love too much, and you feel like you don't like them quite as much. And they're the same way. He was the same way. He was extra cranky and like, Mom, play with me, or get away from me. And we tried to work on tools, right, for when we're angry and frustrated. Things like have a glass of cold water to help you cool down. Take a deep breath and count to 4. Daniel Tiger. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But then the one time, I lost it. I lost it big. There was yelling, there was stomping. And immediately afterwards, there was crying because it was not who I want to be as a parent ever. And I knew I was going to have to try to apologize later and say, don't do that, don't be like me. And I felt terrible and guilty and ashamed. And he was, of course, in shock. And he went over and got his glass of water. And he brought it over to me. He said, here, Mom, have some water so you can cool down. And then let's take a deep breath and count to 4. Talk about savoring the harvest. All the little fruit seeds that you plant of kindness and acceptance and tools for being your best self, and you never know if they're going to grow. And then you find yourself a recipient of that acceptance and kindness and love. And isn't that why we come to church? To practice these tools, to practice being that person we want to be and offering love and kindness and acceptance. And when the world has been too much with us and we are tired, to find a place where we can be received with acceptance and love and kindness. May it be so.
Voice, body, or spirit, and join us in singing our hymn, All My Memories of Love. All my memories of love hang upon high stars. All the souls I've lost to tears, now the autumn jars. And the air around me here thickens with their song. Sing again their nameless tunes, sing again and strong. Willows in September touch the altar clear, set among the rushes tall of the flowing year. Rising up from sunlit past comes the shadowed side, running toward me silently, love to fortify. Many are the graceful hearts hung upon this tree, and it seems there's room for mine on these branches free. And the sky above the tree, whether wet or bright, is my ease and comforting, my good news and light. Please be seated.
Dear ones, we are doing a new thing here in Rochester. And I would be lying to you all if I said it was easy. This collaboration has been a labor of love from all of us, from the many names you heard this morning from Rev Sherry. For those of us who are here helping to keep the worship container online, our tech crew, our setup and takedown volunteers, our hospitality team, our chancel decorators. This morning, we give thanks for this opportunity and for all it brings to our lives. A chance to be together, a new way of gathering in this pandemic, the beauty of gathering both in person and online. And we give thanks for all of the work this collaboration takes by giving generously this morning to our offering. Links for giving are provided in the chat online as well as in person on the back of your order of service. We also have donation boxes for folks to give in person on our joys and sorrows tables. Thank you so much this morning for your generosity. It makes the whole collaboration and this future of Unitarian Universalism in Rochester a reality. With deep thanks, our offering will now be graciously given and gratefully, gratefully received.
Yesterday, a child came out to wander, caught a dragonfly inside a jar. Fearful when the sky was full of thunder, and tearful at the falling of a star. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captured on the carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle game.
Then the child moved 10 times round the seasons, skated over 10 clear frozen streams. Words like when you're older must appease them, and promises of someday make their dreams.
And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captured on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where we came, and go round and round and round in a circle game.
16 springs and 16 summers gone now. Cartwheels turn to car wheels through the town, and they tell them, take your time, it won't be long now, till you drag your feet too slow, the circle's down.
And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captured on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where they came, and go round and round and round in the circle game. So the years go by, and now the child is 20. Though their dreams have lost some grandeur coming true, there'll be new dreams, maybe better dreams, and plenty before the last revolving year is through. And the seasons, they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on a carousel of time. We can't return, we can only look behind from where they came, and go round and round and round in a circle game. And go round and round and round in the circle game.
We are getting a head start on what comes next. Let us settle into our seats if we are seated, feeling the earth under us. If you are standing, ground your feet into the earth. And if you are reclining or lying, let your whole body rest. Connect with that which holds you. And let us share silence together. There are many ways to meditate, and in silence is a time-honored way. But I offer here a guided meditation from Lama Rod Owens, a Buddhist teacher and practitioner. He asks us, as we ground ourselves now, to do whatever it is you need to do to make space in your body so that pain and discomfort is not a distraction. Perhaps for you that means lifting one hip over another, or massaging a shoulder. Whatever it is that your body needs, do that. We'll be spending some time together in this space and this place. Whatever needs to be adjusted, adjust. So I invite you into a practice that he names Snowl. We begin with S, seeing. In this quiet time we have together, as we turn our attention to our bodies, if your mind is like my mind, it wants to take over. Thoughts and feelings, to-do lists and emotions come rushing in. See them. In your mind's eye, they are there. We might as well acknowledge that they are all floating in. Of all the things that come floating in, among them are probably emotions, more than one if you're like me. We move to naming an emotion. Again, there may be more than one, but I ask that you pick one that has a positive association for you. Perhaps it's contentment, or ease, or excitement. Name it. Inside, or if you're alone, say, this is contentment. This is excitement. Whatever that emotion is that you can pick today, name it. This is it. We move to owning it. Whatever contentment I may be feeling is different than that which travels in you. That excitement is yours, just as this contentment is mine. And so I ask that you own it, saying again inside, this is happiness. This is my happiness. It is mine. I am experiencing happiness. As you experience it, if your mind and body are anything like mine, other things come rushing in. As you hold contentment or peace or ease or whatever it is that you are experiencing, what else emerges? Where does happiness live in your body? What else does it bring up for you? And now we let it go. That cloud of ease, that peace, that contentment, just as it floated into our experience, it floats out also, like a cloud in the sky. Let it go. It was a good emotion, one that brought positive associations. And so we continue the letting go by simply noticing, not judging, not fighting, but noticing the ways we do not want to let it go. The ways we reach out for that cloud of contentment. We continue the letting by letting it float. Let it float. Like traffic passing by. We close our practice, gifted to us, grateful for the opportunity to be able to notice together, noticing the gift of a time of rest, a time to be together, and a time to go inside. Let us close our practice with a brief silence shared again. Having settled into our bodies, let us close our practice with one of my favorite options given to us by Owens. Having peacefully let something arise within us and then let it float. Let us shake it out. First our heads, and then our hands, and then our shoulders and torsos and seats. If you're in a position to shake your legs, go for it. Now we are a bit warmed up to type or to travel. We honor in our coming together the many joys and sorrows that we bring from our experience. We come together to honor the joys and sorrows that we carry in our hearts. Here in our gathering, we offer witness to that which brings us happiness and contentment, and that which sits like a burden. On our tables to the side of our tent are stones washed by the waters of Lake Ontario, stones gathered by hand, stones gathered with love. In our online gathering, I invite you to share a joy or a sorrow, to type it into the chat, and before you hit send, to briefly reread it, feeling its weight, and then letting it go. Here under the tent, or just outside, I invite you to travel, to move to one of our tables on the side, to lift a stone, feeling its weight, and then to let it go. May it be so. May you share your joys and your sorrows with this gathering. May the weight be lifted and lightened by our gathering. May we have hope and healing in our midst. Amen, and blessed be.
Open my heart, open my heart.
just want to sit in it for just another moment longer. We gather this morning to open our tender hearts in a spiritual practice, encouraging us to accept what we are feeling and where we are in this very moment. Thank you so much for leading us in this practice, Rev. Sherry. May our hearts remain open to where we find ourselves now and to exploring the depths of what we find when the heart is allowed to speak and it tells us what it needs. This past week, I was looking through emails, as I'm wont to do, and one came across my screen from the Unitarian Universalist Association, a reflection on grief and change. Reverend Sunshine Jeremiah Wolf shared wisdom from one of their chaplaincy teachers. The quote, "Grief is the normal and healthy response to change, any kind of change." As we look back over what we have been cultivating to harvest over the past 2 years, I would say each and every one of us here has had a healthy dose of learning more each day about grief, about loss, about change, about shifting, about adapting. And as we turn our hearts and our spirits to this harvest season, I wonder what we will reap from these learnings. I wonder what we will grow and tend and harvest out of all of these experiences we have been having in this ongoing pandemic. In this season, it feels like the heart's ache for some sense of normalcy or going back to the way things were is particularly present. Has your heart been aching for where you once were or where you have been? I find myself wanting more and more to get back to where we were, wherever that was, as a church, as two churches, before all of this happened. It is hard to accept the fact that we will be forever changed by our collective experiences. It is hard to accept that life has shifted. I feel deep grief and loss around where we once were. I feel deep grief about where I once was. And to avoid that grief or to try and push it away will likely have long-term spiritual, emotional, and even physical consequences. Plainly put, this morning, it is not my or our job as your ministers to save you from feeling the depths of loss in this moment. It is not our job as a church to save us from the grief that this time period has brought us. It is our job here, together, all of us, to create containers where grief can be expressed and where you are encouraged to share, to reflect, and to work through the many phases and stages of grief. We are here in this place to be honest about the happenings of the world and our community. We are here in this space to make room to grieve. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross famously gave us 5 stages of grief, right? I'm sure you all have heard these before. Denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance. It is not my intention this morning to take a deep dive into all 5, but rather to focus mostly on acceptance. Because I find that right now, acceptance is the hardest place to get to with all of this. Finding acceptance, seeking for it, searching for it, wondering how we get there, this is what is on my mind and heart to share with you all this morning. And contrary to popular belief online this morning, it was projected that my sermon title was Pining for Approval, which may actually be the story of my life, but no, we're pining for acceptance. How do we find acceptance in the midst of our many losses and our deep grief? I'd hate to be getting up here saying, how do we find approval in the midst of our many losses and our deep grief? Oh my gosh. Lama Rod Owens, a Buddhist teacher and author who wrote our meditation this morning, writes in his book, Love and Rage, where he debuted this spiritual practice around snowel. He writes, acceptance means simply allowing the thing to be there, whatever the thing is. It is a practice of no judgment. We are not interested in the quality or nature of the thing at the time. We are just interested in letting the thing be there. Acceptance without judgment means we are not celebrating or denying the thing. I lift up his quote because it brought a new awareness to me about acceptance. I had previously understood the denial part, right? Acceptance is coming out of denial. Denial is the opposite of acceptance. But this piece about celebrating was something new to me. To be in acceptance, he says, with acceptance without judgment means we are not celebrating or denying the thing. To accept a loss does not mean we need to celebrate it or even couch it in terms of all we are learning, all the ways we are growing from this time period. It is just to view what has transpired honestly and without judgment. I wanted us this morning to be able to engage in this meditation practice together of naming and owning our emotions and letting them go, because getting to a place of acceptance, embracing no judgment, takes practice, and it takes time. It takes returning to practices again and again like this one to be able to really feel what it feels like in our bodies to experience acceptance. I could get up here and I can spout all kinds of intellectual ways, quotes, whatever around acceptance, but the best thing I really think that we have to offer you this morning is practices, our practices to take into our days, our weeks, our lives. Practices of the body, the mind, and the heart. Because I truly think we need to take our practices of acceptance seriously. To not accept situations in our lives, to not accept the truth of our own experiences, to deny parts of ourselves, these are soul-crushing practices. This is where we can experience a soul wound, a fissure or tear to fragment the true self within. For those of us here who have had to remain closeted about our affectional orientation or our gender identity, we know the cost of a lack of acceptance. For those of us who have had to hide parts of ourselves away in order to survive, we also know the cost. For those of us who have had to remain silent out of self-preservation, when everything inside of us is screaming to tell the truth, we know the damage a lack of self-acceptance can do to the spirit. It is painful to not accept who we are and what is happening in the present moment. Even if it seems that not accepting the present circumstances might be a good way to avoid pain, to deny it, I've seen in way too many times causes of even more pain and heartache in the denial. Denial is a part of grief, and of course, a healthy response to change. To remain there can be deeply costly. Acceptance is healing. It is a deep expression of love. Lama Rod Owens shares this insight: when I am loving, I am practicing acceptance. And when I am being loved, I am being accepted. Acceptance is key to my understanding of love. I'm going to say that again because I feel like it needs to wash over me and maybe you too. When I am loving, I am practicing acceptance. And when I am being loved, I am being accepted. Acceptance is key to my understanding of love. I think it is what our tradition is trying to get towards when we are invited to respect the inherent worth and dignity of one another. Out of both our Unitarian and our Universalist ancestry, we have been ever striving to live love in this world, to grow our capacity for loving one another, and of course, loving our planet, the earth, the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. Granted, we do so imperfectly because we are all human beings with limits and faults and shortcomings. I don't believe it is possible to get to a place of 100% acceptance all of the time. But I do see space for continuing to practice and grow in acceptance as a pathway towards spiritual growth and maturity and even wholeness. The wholeness each one of us seeks to feel and know over the course of our lifetimes. And I know that we are each seeking this wholeness for ourselves, and we deeply want it for others, for our neighbors, for those we love, even for those we have not met. I do believe that self-acceptance is at the root of it all. I do believe that in finding compassion for ourselves, inwardly focused, we are able to better extend that compassion to others. To sit in judgment of others usually begins with the ways we internally judge ourselves. I know for me, when I am being harsh with someone else, it begins with an internal critique, an internal criticism. It must start at home. Our practices of acceptance must start at home and grow from there. Perhaps you will find space to take the meditative practice we shared this morning into your life a few times this week to grow in acceptance. Perhaps there is someone or some situation you are recognizing this morning as we're talking about it you have not been accepting. Perhaps it is worth it to take a little stock in your life to see where acceptance is flowing and thriving and where it may have run dry. The beauty is that we can practice acceptance again and again and again and again. We can grow our capacity to notice when we are not in acceptance through regular spiritual practices of paying attention, mindfulness, journaling, prayer, however you connect with the sacred. One of the beautiful parts of being human is that we are always growing, ever evolving, and never fully arriving. May you know acceptance this week and in the days to come. May you seek it for yourself, and may you know it in the very depths of your being. May the acceptance you cultivate for yourself help you to better accept those around you. And may you know love and loving out of these practices of acceptance more deeply. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. As we pay attention to the places where compassion and acceptance flow in us and through us, let us please rise in body or in spirit to sing hymn number 1007, There's a River Flowing in My Soul. Flowing in my soul.
me about it.
There's a river flowing in my heart.
I can hear ya.
There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart.
And now you're mine.
There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind.
Harmony.
And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. Dear ones, please remain standing as we share in our chalice extinguishing words used by First Universalist and written by Maddie Cephantis. They're found both on your screen and in your order of service. Please join us in our unison reading. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. Dear ones, let us place a hand over our hearts, connect in with this heart-centered space and place, breathing in deeply here, feeling our feet planted firmly on the ground. May you go forth this day, ready to cultivate deeper acceptance of yourselves and deeper acceptance of the world around you, the situations and the circumstances we find ourselves in right now, here today. And may we cultivate that acceptance as an act of love. May you know that you are loved, and may you go and bring that love to whomever you meet and wherever you find yourself in the days and the weeks ahead. Let the people of the church say, Amen.